Good morning to everyone present here. Welcome to our webinar on risk-based testing over exhaustive testing. Which one to choose and why? I'm Abhilash and I'll be your moderator for today's webinar. As we begin, I want to take you through a few indicators so that we can interact better during the webinar. What you're looking at is the attendee interface of GoToWebinar. As you can see, there is also a viewer window on the left. This window will show you everything that we will be sharing from our screen. You also have access to a control panel, which is on the right hand side, from where you can type in your queries and share your comments. We'll be reviewing your questions as they come in, and we'll take them up towards the end during the question and answer session. Also, the webinar has been recorded and everyone will receive an email with a link to view the recording of today's event. To begin with, I would like to introduce you to our company, Suyati Technologies. Suyati provides marketing technology and integration services for companies that wish to combine the best of the breed solutions and create a unified approach to customer acquisition. We enable system integration between various CMS and CRM platforms and a slew of e-commerce, marketing automation, social media listening, email and social marketing, and customer service systems. Suyati's custom technology solutions have been deployed in companies in the US, Western Europe, and Australia, and have helped many enterprises leverage the web, cloud, mobile technologies to acquire customers through integrated digital marketing. We have strategic partnerships with various technological giants such as Salesforce CRM, Sitefinity CMS, and MongoDB. We are also a Microsoft certified gold partner. Suyati is based in Chicago with product engineering capability out of the US and India. When it comes to software testing, Suyati has always been a very specific organization regarding its quality assurance with its core strengths in mobile web, e-commerce, email campaigns, and social media. Now I would like to introduce you to our featured speaker. Today's featured speaker is Maria Susan. Maria is currently working as a quality assurance engineer at Suyati Technologies. She has around 3.3 years of experience in manual testing. She is also an ASTA certified professional with foremost expertise in testing, which consists of mainly functional and manual testing. She loves to spend her leisure time in cooking and listening to music. Regarding our social following, you can use the hashtags and handles to post questions, follow us, or even tag us. Now, I would like to run you through the agenda of the day very quickly. We'll be starting with the introduction to testing. Then we'll be moving to functional testing, which we will be discussing about risk-based and exhaustive. We'll discuss why we should go for risk-based testing. We should, and we'll be discussing about risk analysis fundamentals in software testing. Then we'll be having a brief discussion about exhaustive testing, and then we'll be concluding with why exhaustive testing is not possible in the industry or why we should choose risk-based testing over exhaustive testing. Now, I would like to pass it over to our today's speaker, Maria. Over to you, Maria.
Thanks, Abhilash. So now we shall start with software testing. So what does software testing means? It's a process of validating and verifying a software program or an application or a product. I shall now explain what does validation and verification means. Verification means, are we building the system right? Validation means, are we building the right system? Hence, by testing a software, we validate and verify whether it meets all the business and technical requirements, whether it's working as expected, whether it can be implemented with the same characteristic. Now we shall move to functional testing. Let's see what it means. It is to verify that a software application, performs, and functions correctly as per the design specifications. Basically, it is to check the basic functionality that has been mentioned in the functional specification document so as to meet the user specifications. It also checks the core application functions, text inputs, menu functions, installation, and setup on localized machines. Now we shall have a look on risk-based and exhaustive testing. Before moving to that, what do you mean by risk? Risk is a problem or situation that has not happened yet, and it may never happen in future as well. So, risk-based testing is a type of software testing that the features and functions to be tested will be based on priority, importance, and potential failures. Firstly, in the risk-based testing, we need to identify the risk to the project. So, I shall give an example of most of the risk that has been identified in time. Mostly are with respect to time, resources, quality requirement, new technology, lack of knowledge, lack of experience, etc. Then we need to analyze the risk associated with the potential cost of project. At times, it's difficult to test all the functionality of an application. In that case, you can use risk-based testing so as to test the functionality that has a highest impact and probability of failure. So, in order to perform a risk-based testing, we shall now check what all we need to have. We should have a clear understanding of software requirement specification, design document, etc. We need to have a brainstorming with project stakeholders. Also, we need to identify the risk at an initial stage. We need to prioritize the requirements on risk assessment. Also, we need to plan and define the test according to the risk assessment and thereby execute according to the prioritization. Now we shall look what does exhaustive testing means. Exhaustive testing is a quality assurance approach in which all possible combinations of scenarios are being used for testing. In exhaustive testing, the testing needs to be done with all combinations of data and testing in various environment that has been available and also with multiple user types. It's impractical for real-time testing applications. Also, it can't be worked with a deadline and it's highly time consuming and has a major risk for the budget. We shall now discuss on why do we need a risk-based testing. As we discussed, the risk-based testing is basically for the projects which are based on risk. It helps us to identify the risk at an initial stage, which helps in further test planning, test preparation, and execution. It prioritizes the requirements on risk assessment. It involves both mitigation and consistency. It identifies the proactive opportunities to remove or prevent the defect thereby. Here comes the risk analysis fundamentals in the software testing, which includes the risk identification, risk strategy, risk assessment, risk mitigation, risk reporting, and risk prediction. I hereby say a process so as to analyze and execute as per the risk analysis fundamentals. Firstly, we need to describe all the requirements in terms of risk which has been involved in the project. Secondly, as per the risk assessment, prioritize all the requirements. Thirdly, plan and define the test according to requirement prioritization. At last, execute test according to the prioritization and acceptance criteria. We shall now move to each of them in detail. Firstly, the risk identification. What does risk identification means? It involves collecting all available information about the project and classify it to determine the amount of potential risk test phase and in production which is being involved in it. For the risk identification, we need to describe all the requirements in terms of risk involved within the project. Secondly, we can move to risk strategy. The risk strategy provides a structured and a coherent approach to identify, access, and manage the risk. It helps to plan for possible alternative project activity or the mitigation of all risk so as to manage the risk during software testing activities. Now we shall move to the risk assessment. What does risk assessment means? It is the determination of quantitative or qualitative estimate of a risk. The risk which has been identified can be assessed by the following questions. It can be, is this a risk or not? How serious is the risk? What are the consequences? What's the priority? What's the likelihood of happening this risk? If you have an answer for the above questions, then the risk assessment has been done. Now moving on to risk mitigation and reporting. Firstly, what is risk mitigation means? It's a process by which an organization introduces specific measures to minimize or eliminate the risk or an impact associated with the project. It can be implemented based on the information gained from previous activities of identifying, planning, and assessing the risk. Now we shall see what this reporting is. It involves reporting the risk and risk management outcome for the purpose of comparing the result so as to identify the potential problems. Now we shall see what is risk prediction, how it can be done. It can be done from the previous activities like identifying, planning, accessing, mitigating, and reporting risk. It involves forecasting the risk using the previous history and the knowledge of previously identified risk. Thus, we had covered all the risk analysis fundamentals. Now, moving on to the metrics for progress tracking. The metric is being used in order to measure the progress of a work we do. It's basically done by taking a count on the below measures. Having a count on the number of tests that has been planned, executed, and completed. The number of fault that has been found per function. The number of hours that is being used in testing per fault that has been found. The number of hours used in fixing per fault. Now we shall briefly describe what does an exhaustive testing means. As I already discussed, the exhaustive testing is a complete round of testing with all possible combinations of inputs, testing in various environment with various user types and various input data that is being available. Exhaustive testing makes sure that the product cannot be destroyed or crashed by some random instances. As I already discussed, it's very impractical for the real-time testing applications as it can't be worked with a deadline and it's highly time consuming and it's highly risk for the budget. We shall now have a discussion on why we choose the risk-based testing over an exhaustive testing. Since we had gone through both the type of testing, we can describe it like as risk-based testing is based on priority and importance. There's a considerable savings on time, money, effort and thereby improving the efficiency of the test. Whereas in exhaustive testing, it ensures a complete round of testing, hence it consumes a lot of time. Secondly, risk-based testing focuses on prioritization. It focuses on actual business needs over functional perfection, whereas exhaustive testing focuses on testing with all combination of data with various user types and environment. Hence, it is not practical for a real-time testing application. Thirdly, a risk-based testing offers an opportunity for the client and the test manager to negotiate the testing requirements and thereby strike a balance between end user requirements and technical perfection. And at last, it helps to test the functionality that has the highest impact and probability of failure. Now, I shall hand over to Abhilash.
So thank you, Maria. It was a pleasure having you on board. And now it's the time for the question and answer sessions. We are ready to answer your questions. So you can type in your questions using the question feature on GoToWebinar. And we have our first question coming. And our first question is, what if there is no prior product knowledge? How we are going to conduct the risk-based testing?
Actually, risk-based testing is based on the assumption that we are testing a new version of an existing product, that we are familiar with the basic functionalities and purpose of the product. In case if it's a new product, then a rough test should uncover all the critical functionalities, defect-prone areas, and few important failure situations.
Thanks, Maria. We have our second question. Our second question is, what's the criteria to prioritize the risks?
Basically, in the risk analysis stage, each risk has been assigned a level based on the likelihood and consequences. Then the level of risk is compared and decided whether the level of each risk is acceptable or not.
Okay. We have our next question. How effectively can the project risk be managed?
The risk should always be analyzed by the probability of the event occurring and the consequences, if it does occur, and should focus on the project schedule, cost, scope, and quality. Here we check the probability, where the likelihood that a risk condition will actually occur, and the consequence, where the impact might occur from the risk.
Okay, thank you so much, Maria, for handling the questions. So that is all the time we had for today. Please look forward for the follow-up mail that will alert you on the on-demand status of the webinar so that you can review any material you missed, or you can simply go all over again with the same thing. Finally, we have a small request for everyone. We would like to ask each one of you to remain with us for a few more moments so that you can complete our full question exit survey. And any further queries will be taken offline. Reach us at our social media, and you can also drop us an email at webinar@suyati.com. That's WEBINAR at the rate of SUYATI suyati.com. That's webinar@suyati.com. That brings us to the end of today's webinar. On behalf of Maria and our team at Suyati, we thank every one of you for joining us and taking your time to attend our webinar. Have a great day. Thank you.